The South Korean flag is more than just a cool design. So join me as I dive into this masterpiece and see what Japan, China, and the United States had to do with it, what it teaches us about Korean culture, and what a flag for a unified Korea would look like. While the red and blue symbol itself is called the Taegeuk, the flag as a whole is commonly called as the Taeguki, which means Supreme Ultimate Flag, and the story behind it is very interesting and funny. Even though Korea's history stretches back for thousands of years, the Goryeo dynasty from the 10th century established the first real unified Korea. And while the Goryeo dynasty had their own royal standard and royal seal, they did not have a national flag for their state. And while the Goryeo ruled for 500 years until the Joseon dynasty took over in 1392, the new Joseon dynasty kept the royal seal from the Goryeo, but they had their own emblems and their own royal standard. And I'm sure you can see some familiar symbols right here. The lack of a national Korean flag wasn't an issue until the Joseon emperor was negotiating a treaty with Japan, when the Japanese delegation displayed their flag, but he had no national symbol to show off. And that's when Koreans felt pressured and embarrassed afterwards, and China's Qing dynasty suggested they borrow elements from their cool dragon flag, but the Joseon dynasty didn't think it was necessary and didn't make one then. Fast forward to 1882, when the Joseon were signing another treaty, but this time with the United States, when the same thing happened again. The U.S. emissary suggested that Korea adopts a national flag, so the Joseon monarch Gojong tasked two of his officials to make one. Those officials went to the Chinese diplomat named Ma Jianxing and asked them if they could use the Chinese dragon on their flag. Ma agreed as long as they modified the dragon, but Gojong and his officials wanted the same Chinese dragon on their Korean flag, so they scrapped the whole dragon idea. Ma later suggested that they use the Taegeuk from the ancient Chinese Tai Chi philosophy and the 8 trigrams found on the Joseon standard, and so they adopted this as the first ever national flag of Korea before signing the treaty with the United States. And when the Japanese occupied Korea, they banned the flag for 35 years before being kicked out, and this flag was used for a few months afterwards. Then the American military government in charge of South Korea later restored the Korean flag and used it next to the American one, while the Soviets in the North used it alongside their Soviet flag, before creating the current North Korean flag we all know, but that's a flag for a future video. And so in 1948, we had the official proclamation of the South Korean Taeguki as their national flag. When it comes to the meaning of the flag, however, the white field comes from the traditional color in Korean culture used in daily attire of the 19th century Koreans, and it also represents peace and purity. The circle in the flag's center symbolizes balance in the world. It's derived from the Chinese yin and yang philosophy. The blue yin represents negative energy, while the red yang represents the positive energy. The 4 trigrams, however, represent movement and harmony as fundamental principles. Each trigram mainly represents one of 4 classical elements: heaven, fire, water, and earth, as well as other concepts shown here. It's also worth noting that the South Korea flag is considered by a large part of the country's citizens to represent the Korean race, rather than solely the Korean state, which is why damaging it, removing it, or staining it is rare but punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a very heavy fine. Some interesting flags to check out are this one called the Korean Unification Flag, which was used in many Olympic Games when the North and South Korean athletes competed as one team. Another one is this one used by the president, and this other one used by the prime minister. Cities around South Korea also have their own flags, but I'm afraid they look like minimalistic corporate logos with some writing on them. So if you're looking to watch a similar video, you can check out this one, or browse the playlist for more flag videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I will see you next time on Council of Knowledge.